Today's episode of The Rock Fight is presented by Oboes, who wants to share the love of hiking, and we want to help them by uncovering all the different reasons we love to take the long walk, including the following. Number 1, starry night skies until you hear rustling and remember, oh my God, I am not at a planetarium. Number 2, you meet interesting people on trails, or people who just really want to talk about their gear setup. Number 3, bird song over honking horns. You know, nature's Spotify. Number 4, you sleep better after a hike, mainly because you're too sore to move. And number 5, hiking means the Bridger boot collection. The Bridger Ridge is here to help you smooth out the rough trails in front of you with enhanced stability and protection. The Bridger Ridge is Oboe's first boot with Gore-Tex, so bring on the smiles and the miles in the Bridger Ridge. And if you're in the Tucson, Arizona area, head to Summit Hut to check out their entire offering of Oboes, because this hiking appreciation moment is brought to you by Oboes of Bozeman, Montana, certified B Corp, 6 million tree planter, and inhabitant of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Oboes is the maker of premium quality footwear for the trail and the Cupid to the outdoor world. Oboes love hiking. Welcome to The Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin Eoin, and today outdoor industry insider Eoin Comerford and I will be checking in on our industry's financial health as we begin month 2 of the, I guess we're calling it the tariff fiasco. Before we get to that, come back to The Rock Fight this Wednesday, where I'll be joined by Shantae Salabert to run through some outdoor adventure headlines, and come back to the show this Friday, where I'll be joined by Adam Kramer, the CEO of the Outdoor Alliance, to talk about public lands. And hey, are you heading to Switchback this June? If so, be sure to put The Rock Fight live on your agenda for Tuesday, June 17th at 5 o'clock in the Trailheads Theater. I'll be there. Producer Dave will be there. Eoin will be there. Shantae will be there. If Switchback is going to be the event of the summer, this will be the event at the event. Don't miss it. And lastly, be sure to follow and rate both The Rock Fight and Open Container on whatever podcast app you are using right now. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Rock Fight, Rock Fight, Rock Fight.
Hey everyone, let's dial things back. It's time for a new segment we're calling Catalog Lullaby. And today we're featuring catalog copy for the Arn Pax Mountain Magic 50 Pro backpack.
The Arn Mountain Magic 50 Pro. It is no surprise that this pack is a thru hiker favorite. It weighs just around 1 kilogram. It weighs just around 1 kilogram and has a free-flowing harness system and comfy dual adjustment hip belt. This is your catalog lullaby, sweet dreams.
Plan to visit Arn at Switchback or GOA Connect this June. If you can't make it there and you're not too sleepy, head to arnpax.com. And hey, sweet dreams, everyone. All right, today's main topic is presented by Garage Grown Gear, your hub for ultralight gear. Learn more by heading to garagegrowngear.com. Producer Dave, he's off today. It's just Eoin and me. And I mentioned it at the top of the show, Eoin. Are you excited for our live show at Switchback?
I'm super excited for that. Get to hang out with the whole gang. See some folks in person that I haven't seen in a while. You and Shantae, I thought were amazing at the
thanks.
On Wednesday. Although I was a little hurt. Yes. So during that show, you sort of talked about the lineup for the Rock Fight Adventure Race team.
Oh, yeah.
There was a discussion of Dave, a discussion of Justin. My name didn't even come up. I wasn't even considered for the
we
Rock
brought
Fight
Schnitzbon in too, I think.
Actually, that probably makes more sense. And you're not wrong. I mean, unless it's like, dog walking, that leg, probably I'm not going to be much help. But still, it would have been nice to, consider the old man.
That was a massive oversight, and I think now we have to all do an adventure race together, and you have to participate.
Absolutely,
that would be great.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is your? So I think when you're on an adventure racing team, everyone's like, "Oh, this person's a navigator, and this person's really strong in this event." Like, where do you think your strength would be on an adventure racing team?
I think navigator, sure. Yeah.
Yeah?
Ballast. Like if we're in some sort of boat, I could be the ballast. Yeah. Yeah. Tug of war, I could be the anchor, you know.
Navigation is like still like just, it's like, I don't know. Like I can't, they can't make sense of it. My eyes just go like blank and I just lose interest altogether. I'm like, I'll just follow everybody else where they go. I can't do it.
Orienteering wasn't a big thing for you in Boy Scouts?
No.
Mm-mm? Okay.
No.
All right.
Must be, I think it's my undiagnosed ADHD that is, it's just messing with my head.
No, I'm one of those people where I somehow always know where north is.
Awesome.
Versus,
See, you should be on the adventure racing team. Massive
right.
oversight by Shante. I think I was going to say your name, but Shante distracted me.
Totally. It was all Shantae's fault. Absolutely.
That's her fault. All right, well, let's try and make sense of what I'm calling the shit tornado that is blowing about right now. This week, Eoin, you put together a model that demonstrates sort of the impact of the Trump tariffs, as well as we're going to talk about some other news that have come out on that topic. But first, last week I noticed, Eoin, over on LinkedIn, someone commented on your beginning of the year top 10 predictions, your predictions for 2025, and they asked if you wanted to provide an update on that list. I thought that was actually interesting, to maybe an idea to take a peek at. Maybe we'll set the stage of some of the things we're going to talk about today. But aside from number 10, which was the rock fight will be the number one news source for the outdoor industry, and I think you can take your victory lap now on that one.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Some of those predictions may just be out the window at this point, given the current state of things, but maybe not. So do you want to take a quick second and run through them?
Sure. So the first one is the one that's probably the most out the window, which is it was that the worst is over mostly. And basically what the thought was there was, we had been obviously through a couple, 3 maybe tough years in the outdoor industry, over inventoried, et cetera. But really last year we worked through a lot of that inventory glut. Feel like we found bottom. Things were sort of bouncing back. Overall, it just felt like that we were coming out of the funk, so to speak. Well, not so fast. And then we have all the tariff shit, all this other stuff going on. And so I don't think anybody is suggesting this is going to be a bumper year for the outdoor industry. So, absent a miracle, and miracles do happen, I guess. Absent a miracle, I think that one is probably not going to happen. The second one was that the pain in bike and kayak will continue. And I think I'm right there.
Maybe not for the reasons you were suggesting, but I think
I was right
you
for those
throw
reasons.
Everybody else in there.
I'm just even righter. So yes,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, about that. So that's unfortunate, but yes. Third one was that REI's results will show a lot of improvement. And since writing this, we've heard that apparently they will show improvement, although I would note that typically REI publishes their results in sort of mid-April, and we were recording this on the 2nd of May, and so far, no results. So
they're busy squeezing their brands for more exclusives.
so we'll call that one a TBD, but I think it's probably going to be true. Number 4 was that Sierra's growth will slow, with the thought being that there's just going to be less closeout out there. The glut is past us, etc. This one, I think, is also still TBD, although I think it's kind of right. They had announced that they were going to add 26 stores in last year. They ended up only adding 22, and now they've announced that they're slowing a little bit to 20 doors this year. So ish, I guess is what I would say right now. I think potentially, though, if we are facing a recession, they may pull back on that 20. It'll be interesting to revisit this towards the end of the year and see how many they actually added.
All we have left are Sierra and secondhand. That's kind of what's left behind.
Well, if we do get into a whole recessionary issue, there may be a glut of inventory potentially. We may, on the flip side, we may have shortages, right? Because people aren't importing products. So I'm not entirely sure what this all means for them, but I don't think it's necessarily good. But if Sierra's doing well, it probably means that the rest of us aren't doing that hot. So I don't know.
Right.
We'll see where it all goes. Then I said Colombia was going to launch a major hike-centric campaign. I guess not so far.
Plenty of time.
This time. I mean, it's early. We're not even at Memorial
we'll see what
Day.
they do for fall. right?
Totally. Well, I would hope that it would be out by the summer. But anyway, I mean, they
That's true.
have this fancy new ad agency that they got from Britain. You would think that they would do something with that, and a fancy new CMO that came from Meta. So yeah, so something should be coming soon, hopefully. A major brand will introduce a brand marketplace, which is this thing I've been harping on about, where brands bring together all of their retailers' inventory in one spot. That hasn't happened yet. I still think it is in the cards. Now, the current turmoil may delay it a year or so. I still think it's going to happen, but maybe not this year. Number 7 was that the Stanley Quencher fad will fade. I think I've gotten this one right.
Is that the one that had the recall?
I think they've had various recalls, but yeah. But it's the one that comes out, in new colors every month. It's that one. The one where soccer moms were like willing to kill each other in a Target to get the latest Stanley Quencher.
Right.
So that one is happening, and in fact, I think I just read an article this week where the CEO of Stanley, whatever it is, Stanley 1913, because you have to differentiate that Stanley.
You have to differentiate
from the Stanley Tool people.
From the tools,
who's actually the Stanley Tool people are actually suing the Stanley Quencher people because they're apparently going beyond whatever brand sharing agreement that they have. Anyway, I do think that thing is, the bloom is off the rose. They're trying to talk about how they're expanding into other categories, yada yada. But the Quencher itself, I feel like, is definitely on the downslope. Number 8 was that decreased preseason buys will become the norm. Really, the whole thought process here is that retailers will continue to push risk back onto the brands. I think that will definitely be the case this year. Maybe not entirely for the reasons that I said, but I do think
the outcome's the same. You count it as a win.
Win is a win. Number 9, another marketplace prediction, was that Backcountry was going to introduce an outdoor marketplace, mainly because they were bought by CSC Generation last year, who does a lot of these kind of marketplace models. Hasn't happened yet. There's still time. I think probably CSC maybe had a little bit more triage work to do than they thought going in. I don't know that for sure.
It's been quiet.
Yeah.
But also I'm noticing more people on LinkedIn who are being hired by Backcountry. So perhaps maybe this is building towards something, depending again.
Yeah.
The world.
So the world. So we shall see. And then number 10 was the Rockfight is going to be the outdoor industry's leading news channel. And, check on that one.
Box checked. Yeah.
Boom.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. We'll see.
Actually really good if you consider what we couldn't anticipate when you made this list.
Yeah. So only one is a definite so far. There may be more. We'll keep you posted as we go here, and I will bravely throw out another 10 in December of this year. So we'll see how it goes.
I think if we've learned anything from our president, that first one, you should be able to sue the current Trump administration.
Absolutely.
Because you've never had a chance for that first one.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Your reputation has been tarnished.
Right. There's got to be some kind of
your own
libel or some situation where I can get after them.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, actually, Owen, if you want to get out of town and away from the insanity of the world, well, then what you should do is check out what's new for May at Garage Grown Gear. You can check out the Whisper Shelter by Gossamer Gear. This shelter takes ultralight to a new level. I feel like ultralight's always being taken to a new level. Is that fair to say?
I think invisible is the new level. So it's good. So it's going to be okay. Here is this invisible shelter, and it isn't there at all, right? Because it's 0 grams, but you have this thought of a shelter, so you feel safer under it. You get wet, but you feel safer under that shelter.
We've achieved Emperor's New Clothes for the outdoor industry.
Exactly.
Is that what we're
exactly?
Well, this shelter by Gossamer Gear takes ultralight to a new level, giving you the comfort of a tent with the featherweight feel of a tarp. It has a floorless design with a mesh skirt around the bottom to keep bugs at bay. Plus, it's made with lightweight, say it with me now, Dyneema. So it's great at keeping water out. I don't think Owen's seen this copy before, and he knew exactly what to say.
Oh, yeah.
It's a truly unique design. So go check it out at GGG, your hub for ultralight backpacking gear. Go to garagegrowngear.com and check it out. We'll be right back. You're listening to Rockfight Radio.
A ball sock for old times. It's no ordinary sock. It does what it says it does. Fit. Our socks merino, but they don't fall down. This sock fits better than your sock. A funky shaped sock that's an elegant solution to budging in the toes, heel slippage and falling down at the ankle. A sock with patented knit structures that achieve whole foot comfort that you can really feel like whoa. A sock that acts like a base layer. A sock that's all about the base layer. A thermoregulating, moisture-wicking, body-forming base layer. Fits is a sock that fits better than your sock, maybe even the best sock ever. It really could be Fits, a bull sock for old times. It's no ordinary sock. It does what it says it does. Fit, 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 fit. It really could be Fits. Layer.
Well, you got DJ CT right here with you, and that was Bold Sock, the first big hit we ever had from Fits. Fits has been knitting the hits since 2014 with their patented whole foot comfort approach to making fine gauge merino performance socks. They make some of the best basics in the biz. Retailers, make sure to stop by and say hi at GOA Connect this June. It will be sure to put a smile on your toes. And now, back to the show. All right, so a couple of weeks ago, Dave and I talked about the first signs of the impacts of the new tariffs, specifically talking about passengers' decision to pause its North American expansion plans. But over this past week, we've started to hear more about the impact that many are already feeling. So, Owen, before we get into some specifics here, you built a model last week that I think really demonstrates what we're dealing with. And I think it helps paint a picture for someone who, understands that tariffs are impactful and not great, but maybe don't quite understand what's possible in a bad way in this current situation. So can you walk us through what you created here?
Sure. So I wanted to create this fictional company and a P&L, a profit and loss statement for this fictional company, and see how it could react to 145% tariffs. Like how do you absorb that? What does it look like in actual numbers? And so this fictional company, it does $7.5 million a year. So it's sort of a small to mid-size company. And it's selling $100 camping stoves. It does 50,000 units through wholesale, 50,000 through D2C. Okay. And in every case that we're going through, they actually they have to slash expenses, right? Because that's the first thing that everyone's doing, quite frankly, right now, especially
Right.
if you're sourcing out of China. You're slashing expenses. You're cutting your marketing. Unfortunately, you're laying people off. You're cutting contractors. You're doing whatever you can to cut those expenses. Okay, so all of these basically take expenses, which are $4 million down to $3.2 million. Okay, so in our pre-tariff world, okay, the landed cost of the product is $30. We've got a 40% wholesale margin, we've got a 50% retail margin, so it sells for $100. And then, all those numbers, we end up with making $500K, which, is, it's enough to kind of keep things rolling, which isn't that bad. So I wanted to look at just these different options. So the first option that a lot of brands first thought about is say, hey, listen, you know what I'm going to do is the 145% tariffs, which is about $42. Okay, I'm just going to pass that through. So in other words, I'm going to just increase my retail by the $42. I'm going to 140, and that's all I'm going to do. Okay, and you might think, well, that's reasonable. Your cost went up by that. Well, that's fine. The problem with that is just doing that increases your retail cost by 42%. Okay, so consumers are not going to love a 42% increase. Okay, it's just not good. Plus, what happens from the retailer's perspective is now the margins for the retailer go down. They go from 50% to 35%. Plus, your wholesale margins go down too. So the retailers are going to hate that, especially if they can go get a stove from somebody else where they're still making 50 points of margin, you're toast. Okay. Plus, they know that their consumers aren't going to love a 42% price increase, so they slash their orders by 80%. D2C, you don't get hurt as bad, but your orders are way down too. Net overall volume just absolutely implodes, and you end up losing $700K. So that
you also lose in the long run, because not only does it, this hurts now in the immediate term of like, you're going to lose this money, but now also your partners are going to look at you and be like, hey, thanks for sharing some of the burden with us. Thanks for just like putting it all on us to pay for your problem. Like not sure I want to do business with you next year when maybe all of this is resolved.
Right, because it's not like retailers are rolling in profitability right now, right?
Right.
So that they're not going to love, because they have to invest in inventory and then get a return on that inventory investment. And so if you're saying, hey, it used to be a 50% return, now it's 35%, they're going to go, no, thank you. Okay, so that's option one. So
Right.
option two was, hey, you know what? We're going to protect that retailer margin. So that 50% margin, that's sacrosanct. We're going to take, yes, we'll take the hit on the wholesale margin, but the retail margin will still be 50%. The problem with that is now that $42 price increase is now $84. Okay, so in other words, your $100 item is now $184. It's gone up 84%. So the consumers are like, it's the same effing stove. Why do you want me to pay almost double for this thing? So basically, your wholesale volume still craters. Your D2C volume craters. Your overall volume, you're down 65%, and at the end of the day, you're netting. You lose $1.1 million. So disaster, right?
Yeah. Not sustainable.
Now let's just take it to the crazy, which is, hey, we're going to actually maintain both margins. We're going to maintain our wholesale margin. We're going to maintain our retail margin. So 40% of each. Well, then basically you're just compounding, right? The price increase. So now that $100 stove is $240. Same exact stove, $240. So the consumers are like, no, just no way, right? So basically, again, in this case, volume just absolutely tanks. So you're down 80%. Nobody's buying this thing, right? It's crazy. And so again, you lose $1 million.
So in each of these scenarios, basically the companies are roughly $1 million loss, whether it's $750,000 to $1 million. And you're saying that if we're starting with a company that's in that kind of $7.5 million range, I mean, you're done, right? You're out of business.
Pretty much.
You can't sustain that. You can't lose that much money.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, you would have banking covenants that you're booting. They're going to probably pull your line of credit. If you somehow manage to have that much cash on hand, which I don't know, show me a small to medium sized outdoor company that has
just flush.
That's flush with cash.
Yeah, right.
I've yet to meet one. Maybe there's one out there. Who knows?
They don't apply in this scenario.
No, it just doesn't work. So what probably happens though in that scenario is they slash even further, right? So it isn't a 20% cut to expenses. It's you would have to basically cut.
They shrink because they have money. Yeah. They're not worried about making money as much. So like, okay, let's just shrink down to where we can be. And whatever.
Try to survive, right? So in that scenario, you're slashing your expenses not by 20%, but like 50%. So you basically like lay off everybody except the founder and a salesperson and bunker mentality.
It's kind of what Passenger did in a way. I mean, a little different because it was an expansion plan, but ultimately they're like, okay, we're not going to be able to afford this. We're going to like support our other where we are and pause this for now.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I did actually another LinkedIn post on that whole piece, which is, I think what we're going to see is for companies that are sort of stuck with Chinese production, it's going to get dumped elsewhere. It's being diverted. Colombia just came out and said they're diverting their Chinese inventory. Same thing with Kathmandu said the same thing as well, right? So, and where are they diverting it? Mainly to Europe, because Europe is the market that is the most similar to the US in terms of its likes, the spending, fit, right? Because especially if you're in apparel, the fit isn't going to work in Asia. I mean, even if you had a good market in Asia, it's just not going to work. So if this product has already been produced, it's headed to Europe, and it's not like Europe is dying for more inventory. So I think that's going to be really, really tough here potentially for the European market.
Another problem.
Right.
All right. Yeah. So not sustainable. Maybe it gets you through right now, but not a sustainable option. You're still going to have to, for the long term, either something's going to have to change or you're going to have to move manufacturing to a different location or whatever it is.
Yeah. And likely what happens is you can't afford to lose 500K, so you just slash even further
Mm-hmm.
from expenses. So things like, oh, our head of product development. You know what? Do we need to develop product for the future? Absolutely. Can we afford that person right now? No. Right. I mean, those are the kinds of decisions that companies are having to make right now. Are those sorts of scenarios where it's like, yeah, we can't afford these people, or we've got a rock star person in marketing, but yeah, no, we're going to. Sorry, we go to a fractional CMO. We're going to bring in some contractor or something. It's going to be those sorts of issues. We're going to, hey, we love getting together in the office, but we can't afford to have a building anymore. We're going to go fully remote. I mean, that's what we're talking about in terms of just businesses making really, really tough, quite frankly, very short-term, short-sighted decisions to try and stay in business.
Well, that's it, because you're trying to stay in business. And I imagine this sort of shared, cost is probably what's happening. I was sent a couple of emails this week from some brands I don't want to name, but also like, hey, we are asking you to absorb this cost. We will be absorbing this cost in terms of the manufacturing we'll be doing. We've asked our factory to absorb this cost, right? So I think that probably what I'm imagining I would imagine most people are settling on is that kind of a little bit dulled across everybody model. That's what I would imagine most people are doing.
Yeah, and that is my advice to a lot of the companies that I work with is total transparency with your consumers, because I think they know that things are happening and what's going on, and they realize how potentially this is an existential crisis for a brand that they hopefully love, and that they're willing to step up and see that this isn't some kind of price gouging or whatever else, that truly this is like, we need to raise prices just to stay in business.
Well, good segue into the next thing we wanted to talk about, because it's been a bit of a crazy week. A lot of reports coming out of all sectors too, by the way. This isn't just an outdoor industry problem, clearly. There's been brands like Hershey's, McDonald's, Chipotle, Harley-Davidson, all reported customer spending slowdowns. And then we saw, if you pay attention to the trades this week, outdoor brands have posted statements about their current position, like Code Epoxy, Wild Rye, Rhone, Hydro Flask, and Osprey, sending letters to customers warning them to expect higher prices. All the things kind of we've been alluding to in this part of the conversation. But then, meanwhile, Columbia reported during their earnings call that there were risks coming up, but they're still expecting to grow in the second quarter, which obviously some of the stuff going into place. But they're keeping, if they're worried, they're not mentioning it too loudly. And then Newell on their earnings call said they believe they can withstand the worst of the tariffs, possibly even benefit from them. And then lastly, from this past week, there were some signs that maybe there's some cracks in the foundation when the U.S. Senate held a vote to rebuke tariff policies, with one of the co-sponsors of the resolution being the devil himself, Rand Paul. And that resolution lost, but it easily, because it passed, it could have passed. It was 49-49. There were some people who weren't there. I mean, look, it doesn't diminish the stupidity of the situation we're in, but at least it's starting to see, like, well, maybe you start to see the roadmap to how we get out of it. I mean, where do you think all this puts us in the coming weeks and months?
While the vote was close, I think people need to understand that even if it had passed, it then would have to overcome a presidential veto, which would require 2/3 of the Senate. And unless there's a major upheaval within the Republican Party, I just don't see that happening. Absent totally plummeting public sentiment, or a blue wave in the midterms, I don't see that happening with this current.
I'm looking for signs of hope, Owen.
There's no hope, Colin. There's no hope. Sorry.
Well, and I think we will see the blue wave in the midterms, but also that's 15 months away, 16 months away. So I'm trying to look for something right now, but yeah, you're not wrong.
Well, it's just like you were saying earlier in the show, where we're recording the show on the 2nd of May. Yeah. And so it's been 30 days since Liberation Day. Oh my God. It feels like a million years. It is, and
remember when everyone was complaining about 2024, what a terrible year it was? Boy, man, remember the halcyon days of 2024?
30. I mean, I know the founders that I'm working with, that those 30 days feel like 30 years. I mean, it's. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that people understand how hard it is to be a founder, to be an entrepreneur, to build something. And there's never enough hours in the day, right? There's so many taxes on your time from people, from customers, from vendors, from all the things, right? And then all this, and it becomes all consuming, and all those other things that need to happen, the branding campaign, the product development cycle, supporting your employees and helping them to develop, all that shit just goes on the back burner, and it just piles on. This has been really, really tough.
I don't claim to understand a consumer goods focused company and what they're going through, but listen, Rockfight's a startup. You know, I fit in that mold of how many emails do you get from me very early in the morning, my time, and probably late at night, my time, right? I mean, this is what we're doing. And we have lost revenue already because of what you just described. People slashing their marketing budgets and advertising spend that they thought they were going to have, they do not have. And, you know, you have to figure it out. We have to figure it out. It's a different thing to figure out. Not quite as dire, but it's still wasn't in the cards when you're kind of projecting out what the year is going to be and what we want to do. And it is that the unknown that's the worst. It you know, God, with COVID felt like the hardest part of COVID was the unknown. But also, boy, wouldn't you trade this for COVID again? You know, which is like, can you believe I even just said those fucking words?
Wow.
I mean, but it's true. Like, at least it was like, okay, you start to pretty quickly, you start to see the path through, right? And you see the trends emerge. And we obviously mistakes were made, whatever. But this is just, to your point, what do? You just laid out a bunch of scenarios for people. And okay, well, pick the one that you want to do. Go for it. Good luck. Fingers crossed. That's really that's the strategy right now.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, people aren't dying. So let's.
Okay, fair enough.
So
yet.
So let's take a breath.
Sorry. Good point. Thank you. Fair. Good. Back to reality. But the circumstances.
The circumstances are very tough, just because of the level of uncertainty. Absolutely. Yeah. It's tough, and hopefully things will start to resolve. We'll say in the coming 60 days, right? We've got obviously our 90-day window that's going to be up here in about 2 months. I think we will see some. I mean, the administration is hungry to trumpet some
success,
wins, right? And so,
yeah, right.
So basically, even if the wins are very, very symbolic at best, they'll be blowing up to massive proportions. Like, oh my gosh, Vietnam just opened its auto market to U.S. vehicles. This is amazing. It's been a closed market. It's just going to be the biggest thing in the world. Well, of course, the reality is. Yeah. Nobody in Vietnam is ever going to want to drive a U.S. car. It's not that we don't make nice cars here. We make cars for America. We don't make cars for Vietnam. I mean, a lot of scooters basically in Vietnam that you don't make here, and B, the roads just don't work for the size of vehicle and the gas guzzlers.
Not a lot of Nissan Armadas driving around in Vietnam.
No, or F-150s, or
right.
Or Ford Explorers or
Ford Expeditions or whatever.
Cadillac Escalades, no, not so much. So. Yeah. I think we'll see a lot of that kind of bullshit where it sounds like, oh, we've made all of this progress to open up these markets, and it's all hand waving and jazz hands, and but hey, whatever it takes for this administration to declare victory and return to some degree of sanity, I think, okay, fine. So,
but is it fair to say though that even if that were let's say it's a few weeks from now and we declare some success, I mean, there's still damage that has been done, right? I mean, there's going to be people who may not recover from this, even if that is the case, wouldn't you think?
I think we have 60 days. I do, because the good news is that this did happen sort of in an ordering lull for the outdoor industry a little bit between, the sort of spring, summer stuff that came in before April, and then the fall, winter stuff that kind of will come in more in July through September. And for smaller brands, It's more like August, September. So I think there's a little bit of time. So most of the inventory that's on hand right now didn't have these tariffs. They still had tariffs. There's, apparel and footwear actually is some of the most tariffed stuff that's out there already, right? So,
Right.
yeah. So I think from that perspective, it really comes down to how long can these companies hold off on taking the goods, because in a lot of cases the stuff's already been manufactured or is being manufactured. Certainly, if you're an apparel brand, for example, you already have your grays, you already have all your trims and all that stuff's done. So it's really a matter of how long can we delay to bring in the new stuff, because we can't afford to bring in the new stuff. I think we've shown we really can't afford to bring it in under 145% tariff. Now, if it's a 30% tariff, if it's it's hard. Again, it's crazy how the actions of this administration have just sort of reset the mental model around what is normal and acceptable around a tariff level, right? Because when you've been staring down 145%, if it drops magically to 45%, you're like, oh God, thank God for that. Wow.
Thank God it's 45%.
45%, by the way, still could put companies out of business. I mean, just let's be clear here. But at least it might take a little longer. There's more time to sort of figure things out in terms of moving supply chains, et cetera. I mean, that's the other crazy thing about this whole process is just how quickly, right? Usually tariffs are phased in over months and years potentially to give supply chains chances to react, and so to avoid disruptions and shortages and all of that. That's not happening here, right?
They said typically it's like 18 months to negotiate a trade deal and then 45 months to implement them once they're like passed.
Yeah,
and they're trying to do everything in 60 days or 90 days, whatever the extension was. 90 days, thank you.
So it's crazy. But I do think that we'll see some relief on the reciprocal tariffs to a lot of the bigger players. And probably the biggest linchpin right now is Vietnam, given how much volume moved there from China over the last 5 or 6 years. And all the indications are that there'll be a deal there, right? And so I think that's good news. But the problem is that there are brands that are stuck in China and that they're 100% in China, and there's just not enough time to get out.
Well, we'll continue to talk about it as things come up. Like, we don't want it to become just the dominant every episode topic here on the Rock Fight, but I will say, call your congressperson. I think especially if maybe you're living in a red district, I think that might I live in Southern California, so any phone call I make, you're like, yeah, we agree. So it's a little. But if you're in an area where maybe the pressure will mount and be helpful, it is the single best thing I think anybody can do right now is put pressure on Congress, because they're the ones who actually. The system's set up that they could change this right now if they really, really wanted to. If they really kind of wanted to see it, the system exists for them to make a difference. Well, but it's just not likely.
Well, legally, Congress is the group that sets tariffs. Yeah. It's not the president. The president. That's what I mean. The president only has that power under emergency situations. And that's the issue is that
and he's created an emergency, so
right, it's a fake emergency, right?
Exactly.
The trade deficit is an emergency, right? Well, okay, we've had a growing trade deficit for 2 decades. How is that an emergency? But okay.
All right, folks, time to set the record straight. A few weeks back, listeners heard me rant on about a new sandal from Lem's Shoes. That sandal, the new Switchback sandal, was a classic single-strap, single-post style that I, without much knowledge, accused of being just like someone else. What I wasn't informed on was Lem's unique take on making footwear, and let's just say a few rocks were thrown back at me, and rightly so, because Lem's has really elevated the design of minimalist, natural movement footwear, anatomically correct, zero-drop comfort, and lightweight outdoor performance. And the Switchback? It's crafted from a single piece of material and features a unique single-strap design with one buckle for super ease of use, added comfort, and getting it on outside. You can go get yourself a pair right now at lemsshoes.com, where you'll also find that Lems is running a 20% off sale from now until May 11th. Oh, and hey, retailers, did you know that Lems is looking for wholesale partners? Hit them up at support@lemsshoes.com to add a little flavor to your shoe wall. And be sure to stop by and say hi to the Lems team at their booth at Switchback in Nashville this June. Check out the new Switchback sandal and all of Lem's shoes by heading over to lemsshoes.com.
It's time for a party shot.
All right, time for the parting shot. And, we had a couple things on the docket today that could have been very traditional rock fight parting shot. But after that half hour plus of, I'm feeling a little low right now, Owen. So for the parting shot today, we're taking a shot at sort of the gloom and doom in the world, and we're going to remind ourselves of why we're in the outdoor industry and the stuff that we like to do. So it's not really a shot, but so much as what's going on this weekend, Owen? What, you getting outside? You going to go do something fun?
Yeah, so I don't know if we've shared this on the pod, but moved to a lake late last year. So
right on.
So just beautiful. Just love. I've always loved water, but living on water is amazing. But as part of that, we're becoming boaters.
Okay.
Yes, and so we're getting ready for. We got the dock in, and the new pontoon shows up next week. So we're very excited about
Excellent.
this. Yeah.
Excellent.
So I got to learn how to drive this thing because apparently it's not just like driving a car. Because it doesn't have brakes. It can go in reverse, but like there's drifting and there's all kinds of stuff. So anyway,
you did know that a boat doesn't typically have brakes, right?
I knew that,
it's
Colin.
It's
I'm not a complete...
for me that you knew.
No,
that.
I
Okay.
knew that. I did know that.
Okay, good.
I knew enough to know that I didn't know. So anyway, I've got plenty of friends that are boaters that are going to kind of help. But yeah, so that's exciting. And then also, I'm a big DIY guy. Like to the point where I drive my wife crazy. Or actually, well, if my wife really wants something done around the house, what she says is, "Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to hire somebody to do the bubba-da-ba." I'm like, you're not going to hire someone to do that. I mean, I could do that.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, come on.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah. So a big DIY guy. So I'm building this a large deck on the so overlooking the where I can sit and have a glass of wine and stare at the pontoon lovingly.
Look at the pontoon boat that doesn't have brakes.
It doesn't.
Now
no, the calipers are bad apparently.
I'd like to point out that point 2 on your predictions were the pain in the bike and the kayak industries. Why don't you buy some kayaks and help them out, man?
So we are going to get kayaks.
Okay, good.
Although actually we're currently borrowing my sister's kayaks because she bought them during COVID and hasn't used them in 3 years. And so, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, they don't need to buy kayaks. Just keep those. You're the one with the lake house.
Yeah, exactly. We said, hey, you can come over anytime and kayak. Use your own kayaks. Yes. What about you? What have you got going on?
A little bit of a little potpourri, a little mishmash. We're going to go a little surfing probably this weekend. The swell might be a little big, a little above my pay grade, but I still want to try and get in the water. I got a hockey game Saturday night, so that's not really outdoorsy, but 11:30 p.m. beer league game,
Nice.
which is this is like a just classic start time for a hockey game, and probably going to get on the bike at least once, if not twice. So. Yeah, the fresh air, I mean, even just getting out for a walk, frankly, just to take a break and get some fresh air and just sort of for a minute, either pop in a podcast or listen to music or nothing even, just has been, I think, absolutely crucial as we kind of are rolling through, like we said earlier, the world right now.
Speaking of gnarly surfing, so have you ever had a scary surfing moment where you were down, you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to pop up here in this deal?
Oh, no, I'm not that good at it. I don't go in water. I don't go into the waves when they're that big. That's
you're
not
just
me. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm like, so for 2 to 3 feet, I better stay home.
Okay, all right, okay. Gotcha.
Well, let's wrap it up there. Come back on Wednesday and Friday this week for more from The Rock Fight. Come back on Tuesday for the new episode of Open Container. The Rock Fight's a production of Rock Fight LLC. Owen and I produced this episode. We don't need producer Dave. Our direction was still provided by Sarah Gensert, who's indispensable around here. And for Eoin Comerford, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And Chris DeMakes, he's back. He's not charging us tariffs yet. I hope he doesn't, to sing the Rock Fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock fight.